Hi ladies, are you ready to play with some Cajun Craze? I had some fun with this one. There was a blooper that I saved and I finished up this card. So join me in the craft room to see what I did with Cajun Craze and You've Got This and the inside of the card and the envelope. Okay ladies, I'm ready for my one color wonder. And I have to tell you, this one was the hardest so far, but I think I've got an idea. We'll see how it goes. For my card, I need my Cajun Craze, which is what I chose, what was drawn last week. I need my You've Got This, and I'm specifically going to use the flower image and this background image. I need a thing of water. I need my mat. I can't talk today. I need my craft mat. I need a paintbrush, and I'm going to use my Misty because I'm going to be doing embossing on watercolor paper, and I have to stamp it several times in order for it to come out. So let me get, I also have a piece of, and it's not here, it's on the table, and I can't reach it, a piece of Cajun Craze cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 11, and it's scored at 5 1/2, but I'll go over that again later. Let me get set up and we'll get started. Okay, I have to apologize, ladies. I've struggled with a headache off and on for 3 weeks. It's allergies and it just comes and goes, and I know it's allergies because when I bend over the pain comes, and when I'm up straight I'm fine. So sinuses and all are messed up, so I'm not thinking straight. I also needed my chamois, which I have wet because I'm going to clean my stamp in between, and I also need Versamark because you can't emboss without the Versamark. Well, you can, but it doesn't work real well. So with that in mind, I put water all over it. I'm going to show you how to set up your Misty. I took my watercolor paper, and my watercolor paper is actually 4 by 4, I think it's 4 1/2. Yeah, 4 1/2. I'm not certain, I might cut it down more, but I knew that this would work. I measured it from the stamp. The Misty comes with a black piece. This is for photopolymer stamps. If you're using the clear cling mount stamps, you want to take that black piece out and put it right down on your pad. I am going to take my stamp and put it in the middle of where I want to stamp, and then I'm going to close the door on my Misty and gently push. That puts my stamp where I want it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up, and you want to remember you are doing this Versamark first because that's what happens if you don't do the Versamark first. So you want to ink your flower up. Oh, you need clear embossing powder too. So clear, ink it up with the Versamark, and then you're going to take your Cajun Craze pad and you're going to stamp it down. All right, I don't know if I'm going to have to stamp it more than once. That's the reason why I'm using the Misty. And you're going to close your door and you're going to press down. And see, because it's watercolor paper, you don't get a good crisp image. But you have your Misty, so clean your stamp, take your Versamark, ink it up again, and you can do this several times. Stamp it with your Cajun Craze, close your door, press down. Better image. I think I'm going to try it one more time to play it safe. So, cleaned it off, and I'm going to stamp with my Versamark, stamp with my Cajun Craze, close it, and push down. I've got a piece of non-stick, or there it is. That's a good image for me. I am going to take my clear embossing powder. Let me my embossing powder's up here. Forgot to grab it. All right, I'm going to take my clear embossing powder. Okay. And I have new containers. These are good, but they don't hold up. All right, I'm going to take my magnet off. You want to make sure those two magnets stay away from each other. If they should happen to get close to each other and connect, two things can happen. One, you're going to have a heck of a time getting it apart, or two, they're going to break. Okay, let me go emboss this, and I shall return. Okay, I decided to try something else. And I didn't have you watch what I did, but what I did was I stamped my image several times with just the Cajun Craze. Then I took my heat tool to it and dried it. Then I took my Versamark and I stamped it several times, put my embossing powder on top, and heat set that. Let's see if that makes a difference. I'm also not going to spritz my thing. I'm going to take some water and just apply it to the area I'm working on and paint in my color. And this might work. I want it darker down here, so I'm just going to kind of pull it up. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more tedious, but I think the results are going to be what I was looking for versus the other. There might be some bleeding with this, but probably not as much as the other. And if it does bleed, it may stay inside. I'm going to continue doing my coloring, but I'm not going to talk so I can speed up the camera. Just so you know, I'm not going to do the coloring right next to each other. That way it gives this a little bit of chance to dry so that it doesn't bleed. Okay, I'm going to let this dry because it's going to dry lighter than it appears, and if I need to, I'll come back and add more color. Okay, my card is dried, and I left it as it was because I didn't think it needed any darker areas. As you can see, there's light and dark. There's some places that I didn't color because I wanted it to have that light and dark look. Now I'm ready to do the card that I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to stamp it. And this is a very juicy pad, so I'm going to off stamp it, and I'm going to create a background, and I'm just going to stamp it. Oops, missed that spot. Not that it's going to show up, but with my luck it would. Let me stamp it again. Come down here. So I'm just going to do this all the way around. And there I have my background. I did cut this down. It is now 3 3/4 by 5 because it was off center. So I did cut it down. I'm going to put this on with some dimensionals. Since this was wet, to get it to stick, I may have to use more than I normally do, which I think is what I'm going to do, just to play it safe. It'll just help it stay flat. And then some in the middle. Okay, a lot of dimensionals, I know, but I want to be safe than sorry. Okay, I also pulled out the gold natural trim ribbon. I'm going to add a bow, and make sure you watch all the way to the end because I turned my other fiasco, I guess you could say, into a save. And you don't want to miss it. Okay, so I put this on there. This card would be so pretty in other colors. Not that Cajun Craze, this one is bad, but not one of my favorites. All right, let me get my glue dots. And I'm not certain where they are. Here they are. Not certain what I do with them. Oh, no, wrong ones. Those are the big ones. Don't want those. There's 1 and 2. And I'm going to put that right at the bottom. Then I'm going to take my scissors and trim it up. All right. And there it is. Finished. Not bad for Cajun Craze. And there's the inside and the envelope. And now, just so you can see, here's what I did with the other one. I cut it out. I did it when it was still a little damp, which was okay. You just have to be careful on the stem and down here in this part. I found it a little bit easier because watercolor paper is very stiff. But I just did a very simple card like that. Before I send it, if I want a sentiment, I will do that. Lots of times I don't put a sentiment on mine so I can use it for anything. All right, here we go. Let's see what we get this time. All right, going down in the bottom, not looking. Garden in bloom, okay. Now I hope I get a decent color. This could be interesting. Soft Sky. Ooh, could be pretty. So join me next week to see what I do with Garden in Bloom and Soft Sky.